The air crackled with anticipation. Former President Trump, never one to shy away from the spotlight, was back. This time, he was facing the nation on Meet the Press, ready to settle scores and rewrite history. What unfolded was more than just an interview. It was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into the mind of a man who still commands the loyalty of millions, even as he faces mounting legal and political peril. Trump, unconstrained by the norms of office, unleashed a torrent of claims, accusations, and pronouncements, many of which directly contradicted his own administration's past statements and actions. The interview was a stark reminder of Trump's enduring influence, but also of his penchant for bending reality to fit his own narrative. The stakes were high. With multiple investigations looming and his grip on the Republican Party tightening, every word uttered by Trump carried the potential to reverberate through the halls of justice and the corridors of power. This was not a man interested in reconciliation or reflection. This was Trump unleashed, ready to fight for his legacy and his future. Trump, never one to shy away from self-promotion, painted a rosy picture of his economic record. He boasted of a booming economy, fueled by his signature tax cuts and deregulation. He took credit for a surge in jobs and investment, conveniently glossing over the soaring deficits and widening inequality that also marked his tenure. But the numbers tell a different story. While the economy did experience a period of growth under Trump, it was part of a longer trend that began under Obama. Moreover, Trump's trade wars, particularly with China, inflicted real pain on American businesses and consumers, driving up prices and disrupting supply chains. On immigration, Trump remained fixated on the border wall, his signature policy initiative. He doubled down on his claims of a national security crisis, stoking fears of rampant crime and drug trafficking. Yet, he offered no credible evidence to support these assertions. In fact, studies have shown that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans. Trump's rhetoric on immigration was as divisive as ever, appealing to his base, but further alienating those who see his policies as cruel and ineffective. His words were a stark reminder of the deep divisions that continue to plague the nation. The specter of the 2020 election loomed large over the interview. Trump, still reeling from his defeat, refused to acknowledge the legitimacy of the results. He repeated his baseless claims of widespread voter fraud, despite numerous recounts, audits, and court rulings that have debunked his allegations. It was a stolen election, Trump asserted, his voice dripping with indignation. He offered no credible evidence to support his claims, instead peddling innuendo and conspiracy theories that have been repeatedly debunked by election officials from both parties. Trump's refusal to accept the outcome of the election struck at the heart of American democracy. By undermining faith in the electoral process, he further polarized the nation and emboldened those who believe violence is an acceptable response to political defeat. His words were a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions and the dangers of disinformation in the digital age. In a surprising twist, Trump ruled out a 2028 presidential run. Citing constitutional term limits, he closed the door on a third campaign, at least for now. This unexpected announcement sent shockwaves through the political world, leaving pundits and strategists scrambling to decipher its meaning. Was this a genuine concession, a recognition that his moment had passed? Or was it a calculated move, designed to keep his options open while maintaining his grip on the Republican Party? Only time would tell. Despite bowing out of the 2028 race, Trump couldn't resist taking a parting shot at his successor. He blamed President Biden for a litany of problems, from inflation to crime to the crisis in Ukraine. Trump's finger-pointing was predictable, a classic case of a politician refusing to accept responsibility for his own shortcomings. Trump's decision not to run in 2028 created more questions than it answered. It left the Republican Party at a crossroads, grappling with how to move forward from the Trump era without alienating his loyal base. Trump's trade policy, a signature element of his America First agenda, came under renewed scrutiny. He defended his imposition of tariffs, arguing that they were necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. "We were getting killed on trade," Trump proclaimed. "China was ripping us off blind." He argued that his tariffs had forced other countries to negotiate fairer trade deals, benefiting American workers and businesses. However, economists have largely disputed Trump's claims. They argue that tariffs are essentially a tax on American consumers, driving up prices and hurting businesses that rely on imported goods. Moreover, they point out that Trump's trade wars have damaged relationships with key allies and disrupted global supply chains. Trump's defense of his trade policies highlighted the deep divisions over globalization and the role of government in the economy. His rhetoric resonated with some who felt left behind by free trade, but it alienated others who see tariffs as counterproductive and harmful. While Trump seemed eager to relitigate the past, his words could come back to haunt him in the present. His interview was littered with statements that could potentially be used against him in the various legal investigations he faces. His claims about the economy, for example, could be used to undermine his defense against allegations of financial fraud. His statements about the 2020 election could bolster the case against him in the Georgia investigation into his efforts to overturn the results. Even his decision to rule out a 2028 run could have legal implications. Some legal experts have argued that by announcing he is not running for president, Trump has effectively acknowledged that he lost the 2020 election, which could weaken his claims that he is the victim of a political witch hunt. With every word, Trump seemed to be digging himself deeper into a legal hole. His defiance may play well with his base, but it could ultimately prove to be his undoing. Trump's Meet the Press interview was more than just a media spectacle. It was a stark reminder of the challenges facing American democracy in the age of disinformation and political polarization. Trump's willingness to bend the truth, to traffic in conspiracy theories, and to attack the very foundations of the electoral process posed a profound threat to the country's institutions. In the end, the interview left viewers with more questions than answers. What did Trump's decision not to run in 2028 mean for the future of the Republican Party? Would his legal troubles finally catch up with him? And perhaps most importantly, could American democracy survive another assault from a man who seems determined to undermine it? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: the battle for the soul of America was far from over.